Hi, we are on site at Reformers Unanimous International, which is a global faith-based addiction recovery ministry out of Rockford, Illinois. And we have an amazing opportunity to share with you some technology that will be a help to you in your home, in your business, and very importantly in your church. We're thinking in the church, any place you have children or adults congregating, let's think in terms of the nursery, but everything that we're going to show you will apply to wherever you are. What we're talking about here is the world's most advanced, most efficient, most affordable, and most cost-effective means for purifying the air. And we can give you other information other places, the difference between filtering the air and purifying the air, but know this, God purifies air, He filters water. And we're going to be able to show you that we have been blessed to harness what God does in nature to take care of indoor air. This is the GT3000 from Greentech Environmental. It is the absolute latest next-gen technology. And we'll just walk you through what happens. You get a box that'll look like this, and you'll open the tape, and the top portion of it has accessories and things you need. You'll have a manual, you'll have the power cord, and remote control with which to operate the system. We'll put those things aside, reach on either side, pull it out like this, be careful, get it from the bottom, set it down, remove the bag, and we'll put this stuff out of the way. So at this point you will have opened up your system, and before we do anything else with it, I'll introduce you to the components to it. There is a control panel on here. You will be able to operate this from the front touch pad as well as from your remote control device. You'll notice it will fit in with just about any decor. It's lightweight, weighs all of about 11 pounds. It's designed that when we have stabilized the house, it will take care of anywhere from 250 up to 3,000 square feet. You have a way of tuning it to the space and to the need. And so we'll show you what you would do when you get your home. We would suggest you read the owner's manual, but since I've done that, I won't sit here and read it for you now. The power system comes in two portions. That's the part that plugs into the wall. And what's really, really nice about this technology is it runs AC/DC, which means that as long as you can get the power from the wall anywhere on the planet into this guy, it will run for you. And it also is designed to function at a wattage just low enough that it qualifies to go into any country without any further qualifications for engineering or electrical certification. So we'll undo this cord, and just like any computer cord, you will plug this part into the AC/DC adapter. On the back of the unit, go into that, where this power cord goes. This goes into the wall. And there it is. The power button is right here on the front. Turn it off. Turn it on. The fan, that is as loud and as high as it gets. That is as quiet as it gets, which is just a whisper. There is a purifying mode in here, and another feature. Normally we want this to run on normal mode, and that allows us to set the purification anywhere from the 250 that you hopefully can see there, and it goes up in increments of 250, 1,000, 1,250, 1,500, 1,750, 2,000, 22, 2,500, and 2,750 all the way up to 3,000. So if we want to sequence it down, we can take that portion of the function off, or we can lower it down to a level that is fit to the room. You don't want to set it for, really you don't want to set it for much higher than what the room space is. It won't necessarily harm you, but it might be a little bit uncomfortable, it might be too strong for what you need in the room. This is a remote control device. is handy because when you set this technology up to run, you'll want to set it as central to a space that you can, for instance a house or in a building or something. A lot of folks think, I want this toward the outside wall so that it scatters in, and they miss a lot of the technology that's inside here and don't get the full value when they do it that way. Because this is creating a massive wave of positive and negative ions. If you've ever been to a waterfall, or at the beach, or been outside after a rain, or sometimes near a woods or a forest when in the evening when the breeze is blowing just right, and that wonderful refreshing smell that you get, that is the result of positive and negative ions, which are one of the main things that God gives us to keep the air pure and clean of particulates. What are particulates? Well, root word of that is particle, and that could be anything from the little infinitesimal things that create smoke when you have a bunch of them. It can be the skin dander. Hey, anybody ever called you a flake? One of the reasons that they might be able to get away with that is that each of us is flaking off about 80,000 skin cells an hour, and this little tiny dander floats around. Now, when I was a child, I remember a sunbeam coming through a window, and in the room, as the sun peeked behind the blinds of the drapes and so on, that sunbeam revealed a whole lot of particles in the air, and I mistakenly thought that it was the sunbeam creating the dust. No, the dust was there, it was just revealing the dust. And whether you see it or not, that is floating around all the time. All of the allergens that people get in the air that they breathe, things that make them sick from the air, will float around in the air, and the germs, which don't have wings, the germs that you will inhale that can make you sick, will come from particles that become the air force for the germs. You're breathing those in, the germs are already on there, then they breathe inside and take over and make your life a bit miserable. So we have the remote control on here. Helps if I get it in front of it. There it is. You can turn it on, and then I can play with the purification seat. You see the bands going across there, all the way up to high. I can bring it down that way. So, as I said, we want this as central to the space as possible and as high. It can be on the top of a bookcase, in some cases on top of a refrigerator, someplace up high. And the reason for that is that with this massive wave of ions, and as it's sending electrical charges to the particles in the air, it's causing them to have a magnetic or a static attraction to one another. As they flocculate or agglomerate together, they become heavier, and they become so heavy that they're swept out of the air and you cannot breathe them. They're not available to your airways. That's a wonderful benefit from this. But remember all the germs we talked about that are floating around on the particles? They're still on the particles, and the particles are where? Down on surfaces. Might be on the wall, just some sort of surface. And now the next part of the technology is really amazing, and that's the part that you see by virtue of the reflected. Let me turn to see if you can see. Not on the camera if you're seeing the light reflected inside there. This is designed so that you can't look in and see the light, but you can see the glow of the light. When that light is on, what is happening is there is a UV targeted light cell that is hitting a matrix of 4 rare and noble metals that creates a plasma of radical hydroxyls. And the effect is as if you were spritzing everything in the room with hydrogen peroxide, which is a very, very strong oxidant. And as the H2O2, that second oxygen molecule, finds a contaminant, it will oxidize it and deal with it. And so we are killing pathogens. And on our website and other literature, we can show you the list of contaminants that have been tested a number of times. Of late, at Kansas State University, where there's a lot of information about things like candida and listeria, Legionnaire's disease, staph, strep, even MRSA, the methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, all of these bad boys that make us sick, the avian flu, the swine flu, whatever the flu of the year is. We keep testing. Norwalk virus. There was a major commercial cruise line that was having a lot of trouble with the Norwalk virus. And they tested for a year, and now this technology is in all of their cruise ships. And that has made a dramatic help for them. So that is constantly working with germs. Then there's one other thing that happens in an atmosphere. We won't necessarily pan around the room, but in your home, in this office, everywhere you go, virtually every finished surface, including the carpet and so on, is off-gassing. Things that come from, whether it's the finish or the paint or the varnish or the fibers and so on, in the chemical process that makes them what they are, there are chemicals that will constantly be leaching out, leaking, and adding to all the other chemicals in our homes. And in situations where we keep the home sealed, trying to keep them warm in the wintertime or cool in the summer, that creates a problem, because that chemistry coming from that component over there may be marginal when we are exposed to it, but what happens when we get some from that, and some from that, and something else, and all of a sudden we get this amazing toxic soup floating around in the air. That's why you walk into a new home, sometimes a manufactured home, you smell things, or the new car smell actually. You are smelling all of that fresh off-gassing, and our bodies can only take so much of that before they rebel or shut down. So this is constantly working on that. And then there are the odors. We can talk about things like, the cat litter. We can talk about if you have a smoker in your home. Hopefully you don't, for their sake as well as yours, but if you do, this can handle that. You happen to cook fish and have a fish dinner one night, and you don't want to be smelling it for the next week. This technology will take that out. And diaper pails, teenage rooms, lockers, and so on. This will handle that, and that's where that purification side, where we go from 250 to 3,000, brings in the component that's dealing with and killing off those odors. So that's the technology. And the other things you need to understand is that this is not a filter. As we said, this is air purification. What we're doing is creating in here things that are being released into the airspace that look for the pollution, find it, and fix it. Every other kind of air system is primarily dependent upon what is passing through here. It may be filtering, or filtering and treating what goes through here, but if it doesn't come through, it's not going to help it anyway. It's the difference between fly paper and a fly swatter. Fly paper is great if the fly has the courtesy of landing on it, but the fly that's moving around, we need to go after with a fly swatter. The contaminants that are out there, we're looking for this technology to go find it, fix it, make life easy again. And since it's killing germs on surfaces, we're not having to constantly spritz with the leading antibacterials and so on, which lead to mutated forms of those contaminants that can come back and harm us later. So this is the technology, and we're going to show you something else here in a minute.